and attend this training. I am sure that we will be able to benefit a lot from it, all of us. Thank you, Eve, for this introduction that you have made. But let me just say something before we even dive into the training. Like Eve has said, I'm really, I'm convinced that I am called to develop entrepreneurs or to support entrepreneurs in as far as growing their businesses are concerned. And I want you to take note of the growth parameters that I'm pursuing. I know that there are so many people who are training and who are involved in this same field of skills development. But for me, I am eager to see results. I want to see impact in your businesses. And the growth parameters that for the modules that we are going to deal with today, and each module of ours, I'll be sharing or telling you where the focus in terms of goals are. In this module of relationship management, I want you to take note that I want to see your growth in terms of clientele. I want to see your growth in terms of turnover, because the moment you grow clientele, it automatically is reflected in the finances in terms of the turnover. And I want you to have goals that whenever we are sharing these modules, there's going to be an evaluation on your side. But also the reason why as SSP we started this is because we want to support you. We want to support you in as far as that growth is concerned. So that training is one way, but we want to develop a relationship into mentoring you to have those achievements made. And therefore that brings me, Eve has already introduced me as a person. So let me go a little bit to introduce SSP. Strategic Smart Partnership, like its name suggests, is really a consultancy that exists to support businesses to grow. And we do this through training and mentorship. And we do it also by gathering different expertise from all walks of business management, leadership, and we bring them the resources that would have been difficult to attain or get. We bring them close to you. And I want to introduce Eve. And Angelina is not with us today, but Eve is an expert in research and community development of businesses. And so she's coming with a lot of experience. She has already shared my CV. And so as many as possible, it all depends on the modules that we are delivering that we find different expertise. And that's why, again, our name of partnership is very critical in as far as the journey is concerned. So let's now go to the presentation. A minute, please. So I'll first share what my philosophies are in as far as managing relationship of stakeholders is concerned, or where it comes from. It comes from the background of me understanding throughout my business experience that we actually come to business to connect with people. Some people think they have come to make money per se, but we have come to business to connect with people. I would like that to first sink, that it is relationship with people first and then money next. How do we connect with people? In any natural relationship, we love and care for people. And I think we are called, for those of us who are here and we are Christians, these are fundamentals to understand that we are called to business to connect with people, love and care for them. And that is why John said in 13:34, he said, love one another as I have loved you. It's business is a platform and an opportunity for us to love one another. It is also an opportunity for us to share value or to exchange value. Because I have goods to give you, and I'm sure you need them. So that is value you are adding to each other. We are there to meet each other's needs or interest. To begin, these are things that perhaps not many people talk about. And I say this because of the experience I've had, and as we go on, which we'll understand, that we exist to add value to one another or to exchange value with one another. And of course, when we exchange that value, whether it is a product you are giving or it is a service you are giving, it should be valued by someone. So goods and services that we produce are for people. We share them with people. We don't give them to animals or to trees or to plants. Yes, there are those goods that go to those things, but here we are talking about goods we produce that are consumed by people. And therefore, we should be mindful of the quality of the goods that we are supplying to these people. We should be mindful that they are going to affect either their safety or their health. That's now where the love and caring for comes from. Meaning that when we are producing those products, especially people, let me say people who are in the industry of food, we have cases here in Uganda where people go and they say they are using transformer oil for cooking food. Do you think such kind of an entrepreneur cares about you? These are the things I'm talking about. I should extend my love to the extent that I care for your health and safety beyond the money you are going to give me. And these are very, very important aspects for us to understand. So therefore, investing in relationship with ourselves, with employees, as we love and care for ourselves, as we love and care for employees, as we love and care for our clients, as we become responsible to government and to community, is very, very important strategic decision for all of us as entrepreneurs in business. And therefore, I'll go to relationship with yourself as beginning. You know, all of us, when God was creating us, what we call gifts, for me, the understanding is the inbuilt abilities that you are born with. There's nothing to struggle about acquiring them, acquired at your creation. So you have them, each one of us. Some people have gifts of intelligence, others of love, by the way. I always search for gifts from different places because we all know that we talk about we are a soul, we are a body, and we are what? A spirit. So there are these gifts that are born, put into us as we are born. So your gift might be found in your body, physical body, or mental, or heart. Some people have extra love than others. By the way, that's a fact. So that means that God deposited much more extra love in you than perhaps the rest of the people. And he does it for a purpose. Others have mental endowment in terms of intelligence. And others have, of course, even deeper spiritual or faith connections. And God does it for a purpose. So we are all gifted by nature, like the other advert Uganda had. And so when we relate to ourselves, we need to understand, who am I? What are these gifts that I have as Jennifer, as Florence, as Gloria? You know, these are gifts that we should have to be to discover. Before I become an entrepreneur, I am Jennifer. I am a human being. I am Jennifer in my individual identity capacity. So I need to first understand who I am. Talents are things that skills that we acquire, or things that we have been able to learn, get interested in, and then later become talented, or they are seen. They are also called, some people, you've seen some people who are good at singing, others are good at communication, others are good at dancing, others are good, so many different talents that come along. And when you discover them, then you begin understanding who you are. For me, I am talented in communication. I feel that right from the beginning when I was young, I always share this testimony of where I used to imitate the radio news when I was about 7 to 10 years. I used to be the entertainer in my village where people would come to listen to me, repeating the news of someone who said the news, because very few people had radios. So you can imagine from that young age, communication was not a problem for me. The intelligence was not a problem because I would cram the whole thing that was said and I delivered it the way it was. And so these are things we are talking about. But you may not discover at that point, but as you grow up and get exposed, you get to know who you are. Passions, things that we love, most of the time really is where our business ideas are. There are things we see others are doing, we want to do them for money, right? Because we come to business for money, but we need to connect with our heart.
We've lost Jennifer briefly, but she's going to be joining us again. So kindly hold the line. Stay online. She's going to be joining shortly.
I'm sorry about these interruptions. So personality, we are all different. Those of you who have had a chance, we have 2 categories of personalities as human beings. We have extroverts and we have introverts. And so it's very good for us to understand ourselves in those categories. We have the sanguines in the extrovertic side. These are people who love just being with people and talking to people and connecting and being happy. Whereas the introvertic ones, where we have pragmatic and melancholines, they are people who love quietness and they love to be alone and they love to reflect. They love to analyze. Whereas the sanguine and choleric, we just want to be, we get energy from people, we get energy from thinking and starting things. We start things, but don't ask us to concentrate a lot on what? Implementation and evaluation and dealing with these details. Now, in business, when we understand these things, it helps us to know our strengths and our weaknesses. If I'm very good at starting business and perhaps I struggle with implementing, when it comes to hiring and creating teams, then we are able to get people that will complement us in the weaknesses that we have. For that is why we need to understand ourselves in that perspective. If I know I'm a choleric, I am very good at innovating, starting things, but dealing with people is my problem because I'm impatient, I want to move on, then I hire an implementer from an introvertic side, a melancholine, who is going to be patient with people, who is going to be very good at implementation to the details, who is going to be organized, make these plans. Mine is to throw out the ideas, but the implementer is going to sit, pick out what I've said, understand our vision and implement, define the goals and move on. Also create teams. So that is why we need to understand ourselves in this perspective. Oh, it's not shared. Sorry, people. You'll forgive me, I am using a laptop that is new that I don't understand well. My Apple laptop got some issues, so please bear with us. So again, did you hear me on personalities, or you want me to repeat it?
We heard.
Okay, so experiences. So in life, we all have gone through experiences. Some experiences are good, other experiences are not good. But at least one thing an entrepreneur should learn to do is to always find the best out of any experience, what we call lessons. You may start a business, you are struggling. But in that deep down in that struggle, there are lessons still to be picked. Others have started business and they are flourishing. Again, what have you done right? What have you struggled with? There are always lessons in both good experiences and in the bad ones. So as entrepreneurs, we are looking forward for the positivity, the treasures we can always pick from whatever experiences that we have. So understanding yourself is the beginning of becoming a successful business person, but also the one that is going to grow your business because you understand who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses. Now, the other important stakeholder in your business, again, where we connect to the people, is employees. You may have one or two, depending on the size of the business. You may have many, like I do. All these are individuals that have come. God has brought them to you for a purpose. I always teach my staff that we meet at the workplaces, and for me, I'm not embarrassed to bring faith in everything that I do. God has brought us together in this business, like I said in the beginning, as a platform to connect with one another, love and care for one another, a platform to add value to one another. Take note of those two. So our relationship with employees, number 3 is to utilize our talents and gifts so that we can develop them more. You remember the story in the Bible, the parable of the talents? These are the things we talk about. When you get a job or when you get people to employ, here I'm talking to both the employer and the employee, but more especially the employer. You have a responsibility to allow or give an opportunity to this employee of yours to learn more from the job, to make friends, contribute to her best to your business. And so we have a symbiotic relationship between employee and employer. And as long as our needs are all met, this relationship will be sustained. Employees of the company are the greatest assets that we have. And the company needs to always be alert to understand what their needs are. But also, employees need to know why they are employed. Companies also have goals, they have visions, they have strategies to implement for us to grow. And therefore, there has always to be a constant reminder of each other, what we are, what our relationship is, what the goals of the company are, what your expectations are, so that this relationship can be sustained. Employees need to feel valued and appreciated. In those communications, as you continue reminding one another, appreciate where she has done well, but also caution and guide where she's struggling or he is struggling. And that is very, very important. Constant communication and engagement between employee and the employer. These are assets you have. These are people what we call point of sale. They are there at the forefront. What they say, how they deal with your customers will show that they are happy or they are disappointed. And it's very, very important to keep that glowing relationship and excitement in their heart. They need to be helped to improve their skills and character while at work. You know, at work is the same as, at work is another life of training. And so it is very important. Give value to them as they receive value from you. Rather, they give value to you. Train them. Make sure that they are guided, both in terms of skills acquisition. Give them more job responsibilities. Those who are performing well, add the job content. That's how people develop. Give them more chances and more opportunities to grow on their job. Human resource policies. I know that I'm speaking to young entrepreneurs and maybe young both in age when you started, but also in terms of the business size. But if I'm speaking to those who already have human resource policies, you will understand or appreciate that the policies that we have must be able to meet the employees' needs and the employers. This is a document that helps us to define the expectations of both the employer and the employee in terms of this managing this relationship together. So from its own design, there must be those provisions or articles that bring out what employees need, how are they recruited, how are they going to be developed in terms of training, what happens when they don't do what we expect them to do, what are the responsibilities of the employer in terms of towards the employee. And so all these things must be defined so that this relationship is very clear, can be predictable from both sides. So there are certain basics that I'm sharing. And by the way, like I said, I'm sharing these things from my own experience. There are things that are very, very essential in managing this relationship so that there are no gaps. You need to be clear on the terms of engagement right from the start. Give clear job description. Don't be ambiguous in terms of engagement. Give written job description. Even if you have 1 or 2 employees, give them targets, but also give them terms in terms of understanding what they have to do. And also make them understand the key performance indicators. Set goals. Now let me give you an example. I mean, we are here to learn how to grow. I said we are looking at learning how to grow our turnover and clientele size. And therefore, if you are going to employ people to support you achieve those two, they have to be given very clear performance indicators. If it is growing clientele and this person is in business development, tell them we need so many customers every month. I know that smaller businesses know how to say, you come and do marketing for me. But what is marketing? Be clear what the marketing you want. You want clientele. Most people think marketing is the same as getting customers. It's totally different, but it's okay. Whichever language we are using, be clear. Let this person know you need so many clients every month, because that is your growth target as a business. That growth target as a business is passed on to the people who brought in your company to work for you. If it is turnover, tell the finance guys to share, you will work with so and so in business development who have given a target, because in any case, you sat down and said, today I'm going to make 100 million, rather in this year, 2024. So this 100 million, not dollars, pardon me, 100 million shillings, but I know that's where you are heading. So 100 million Ugandan shillings, then you come down from how many clients will I be able to get this? You understand? Then you say, okay, if I can get 5 clients every month who are giving me contribution of so much, then I will be able in a year to have 100 million. Be clear. As an entrepreneurs, sometimes ourselves, we don't know or we don't have measurable goals. And then we leave it ambiguous. And then we can end up blaming the staff or people you have employed for not performing. But from the beginning, what are they performing? Be clear about what you want to achieve. And then, of course, evaluate. Whatever targets you've given, have at least, if it can't be twice a year, let it be once a year. As a must, it should be an annual evaluation. If it can't be monthly, if it can't be quarterly, like those corporate companies run, at least let it be that every year you are sitting with this staff to evaluate and say, I told you to give me 5 customers per month. How many have you forgotten? Rather, have you gotten 2 customers? Evaluate what percentage performance it is. Give rewards where somebody has surpassed even your expectations, but also train or attend to the challenges. Sometimes the challenges may come from you as an entrepreneur to affect the performance of the person. Other times, it's of course the employee themselves. So be honest. Again, here we are talking about loving and care for one another. Here we are talking about being able to develop one another and add value. Let us be honest, transparent when we are dealing with one another in this relationship. Yes, I've already said this. Give feedback at the evaluation. It could be good, it could be challenging. Agree on measures of improvement. I've already said that. If this person needs training, do the training. If this person has other challenges that are associated with you as an entrepreneur, pay attention to them. And of course, there is a principle, the Japanese principle, which I like. And of course, we also use it in our ISO system, continuous improvement. None of us is perfect. Even if we were, Perfect is also relative to time. Today I may look perfect before you, but as I go on, the perfection has changed. So continuous improvement is a very, very important principle that we should be able to employ in our businesses to grow. Yeah, and so definitely, I have already mentioned this. Please let us be clear about the targets for business growth. I beg you, for me, my message is about being able to grow your business. And so the growth cannot just be so generic and ambiguous. It has to be clear. Another important customer, I said in relationships, when I began, I said for us, we shall be evaluating our performance for relationships will be in two areas: clientele-based growth and turnover. I know that other growth in terms of money will be dealt by another module. But here, when we talk about stakeholders relationship, we are aiming at growing our clientele, but also our turnover. So the most important other stakeholder in your business is your client, your customer. Some people say customer is a king. He or she indeed is a king. You are his subjects. We are their servants. We are their servants whether we want it or not. And so they are key in as far as relationship is concerned. Understand the needs of the customer and make sure that their needs are met. How do we understand the needs of the customer? There is something we call KYC. Know your customer. Knowing your customer is not just by name. I have a customer so and so. No. It's understanding his buying habits, is understanding his quality needs. It's understanding when he buys. It's understand his whole business cycle. You must understand this customer's whole business. I used to engage customers. I remember when East African community started, and these are things that I always treasure in sharing. When East African customs integrations, when ES integration started in 2004-05, I had a meeting with my customers one by one. And all I was doing is to make them understand the business environment in East Africa is changing. The policy says ABCD. I think it will affect your business in this way. All of them, I engaged them. And I will tell you what happened to both. That time I was the agent for BAT. Immediately, BAT made changes, which affected me, but it saved their business. They changed. They stopped manufacturing cigarettes from Uganda. They moved to Kenya. Why? Because of internal tariff that had been created immediately. And they were very appreciative until when they made those decisions, I was still their own agent. This is a company, of course, I had also some inclination because I worked there. And so I always had really a lot of attachment to them. ShopRite, they changed. They also went back and decided to have now more of local suppliers giving them the products they used to import from South Africa. Because they realized definitely that competing with products from perhaps Kenya is going to be not a very good decision for them, because from South Africa, they were going to pay high tariffs compared to products coming from Kenya that were nil. So understanding your customer is that depth, that you even begin thinking for them strategically. You scan the environment and help them understand. Some CEOs of your customer have no time, but for you to invest in these relationships, it takes an extra mile to invest in their business and know their business cycle. Analyze your customers and know how many give you so much money, how many give you so much. Who are these that I'm going to invest? Now, what we do at Unifreight is actually for us to understand some of the customers, we give a dedicated team that sits at the customer's place That is how we get to know the customer. Now, when we give those those ones are going to take care of them to the depth. They're supposed to be a watchdog for me to tell me this is changing at the customer side. The customer thinks they are going to do ABCD. I need to know so that I can get prepared to know what to do and how to serve them better. Avoid assuming that all your customers are the same. They are different, totally different. Their culture is different. Their visions are different. Their strategies are different. They may be producing, by the way, the same products or services, but they are totally different. Completely. So don't assume that all customers are the same and give customers, make your products and say, here you are. No, understand each one of them and make some changes or what we call augmentation to make sure that the customers are catered for according to their needs. Ensure regular engagements is something we call service level survey. You can choose, again, depending on how you have categorized your customers, you can choose how often you are going to get customer feedback. We tried it here in Unified. We had wanted to see that every time we delivering cargo, because according to our ISO standard, we are supposed to give them a feedback form per transaction, but customers refused it. That's the standard of ISO. Again, these adjustments we make because you need to respond to the customer's needs. They said it's too much time for them to fill. You've gone to some hotels where you immediately you are checking out, they are asking you to do what? Evaluate the services. It's true, some people do it, others don't do it, but technology has come. Let's try and innovate ways that we can make it much more convenient, much more enjoyable, much more relaxed for the customers to give us feedback, because that feedback is very important. By the way, most of us entrepreneurs get new business ideas from our own clients. We don't have to do research a lot, even though it's important. But most of the time, if you listen to the customer's feedback, they will tell you what you should change. They will tell you more things that they need that you are not providing. And that is what we need. They are number one participants in our research to understand what they need. Respond to negative feedback as soon as possible. Some people are going to, yesterday I was listening to someone buying medicine from, I was visiting a patient, and she was telling this famous, I won't mention the name, I am your biggest customer. I've been there, she has a sick mom, and I've been complaining about this. Nobody's paying attention to it. What type of business is that? Such kind of negative feedback. Please fix it. People are going to come to your shops. If you are lucky, they find you there and give negative feedback. Please follow up that customer. Have a chat, have a coffee, tea. Mend that relationship. Nobody wants to carry a negative feeling or feedback over your business and you think you are going to grow this business. It can't work. Have a face-to-face meeting with that person who is complaining. You yourself as the entrepreneur, regardless of who made the mistake that has brought that feeling, you have to go and meet this customer and mend those relationships. Give rewards to the volume and repeat customers that have loyalty. Actually, that's what we call it. Loyal customers need to be given gifts, to be attended to be called for evening coffees or teas, whatever it is. For them to know that you value them, they need to have that kind of feeling as far as your relationship is concerned. I think this is the same. Satisfaction survey and service level survey are the same. Some people, or if you can, to grow this relationship deeper, is organize service week or monthly weeks for customers. Just declare it as a customer's day. Normally, there are programs that we do You design programs, whether to visit, whether to ask them to come and visit your office, make fresh commitments, communicate new changes you have made, new strategies you are making to serve them better. This is very, very important to deploy and win those customers. Let's train our staff. Like I said, they are our point of sale. Customer service is key. Some of our countries, I don't want to mention, I have a daughter who is so mad when she goes to a restaurant and she sits for 5 minutes without being served. When I'm with her, I feel bad to leave, even if I wasn't happy with her service, I mean, because I'm different. I feel to leave after someone has served me without giving a tip. But for her, she will tell me, Mommy, they don't deserve that tip, which is true. Customer service is key. That's what brings people. There are businesses where you walk in and you feel completely, you want to go back. There are others where you walk in and you have come to buy something and nobody's paying attention. Now we have a challenge of internet and social media. How many of you have entered the shop and even people in the shop have not noticed you entered? Yeah, we have to train in customer service continually. Invest your time and resources in doing research on competition. This is very important. The same way you want to know your customer. Unfortunately, your competitor is also trying to know your customer. So it is very important to study your competition. Understand how your competition is doing things, what is good about them, what new products they're innovating, and try to get the possibility that your client can switch. Competition is very, very important. Let competition not sweep you without you knowing. You may know, and perhaps you don't have capabilities to respond, but at least you know. And it is rare, by the way, for any entrepreneur to know what the threats are for your business from competition, and you don't have what to do. You will always have what to do to make sure that you are ready to respond. This one I have already explained, like for instance, the example I gave you when I called my clients in 2005 and they made those changes. I continue doing it. Whenever I see something on the government side, things changing, policies changing, I advise my clients. I know how to tell them, look, this will be a threat to your business or there's a new opportunity coming. And so it's important for us to be, that's how we become partners in business. And that's how the relationship gets so deep that they wouldn't want to leave you. And of course, it helps you buy more from them. Rather, they buy more from you. In marketing, there are 3 things. We talk about buying new, buying more, and of course, switching. So a client may buy more from you because you have invested in the relationship. Now we have other partners like suppliers and outsourced partners. In logistics, we do a lot of outsourcing, perhaps more than maybe the stationery we buy. Suppliers will fall in the category of people who supply products or services to you. We buy stationery, we buy so many things, but we have also partners because we work through partnership. Some places we can't go, so we use partners. Now, investing in this relationship is also important. I know so many businesses work with partners, and it's becoming a thing because it helps. This partnership is a resource in itself because there are certain capabilities you don't have, and you have to work with other people. So for you to be able to grow quality products or keep the standards of quality you already introduced to your customer, you have to source for people who value the same quality so that you can keep the uniformity or matching the quality that your customers are used to. So if you have suppliers that perhaps are struggling, you have to engage them so that you keep the quality standard. In as far as buying inputs into your business, whether it is manufacturing or us that partner in as far as supply chain is concerned, we need to be mindful of the people we are dealing with and keep those relationships as well. Good relationships definitely is very, very important with these people as well. The suppliers also affect our business in terms of profitability. So if we don't manage their relationships so well, it will affect our profitability. How much they sell to us, negotiations at that level, the trust they have in us, the terms that we share with them, whether it is credit terms and all these kind of things, is very, very important. Nobody is going to give you a credit if they don't trust you. So the trust issue comes from a build and a relationship that has been nurtured. So it's very, very important for us. Of course, they need to be paid on time so that then we avoid disruptions of our businesses, because if they are not paid and they are not happy, then it disrupts your other purchases that are supposed to be sustaining the operations of your business. So it's very important. Now, for people who are in trading, suppliers are very, very important. Because if you are in trading, sometimes we are trading using these relationships. You buy goods on credit, you go and sell. Please make sure you pay. So trading is very, very critical for managing suppliers' relationships. Because if you are lucky and you get a supplier giving you merchandise on credit, please manage that relationship as careful as possible. It's an egg you are holding. You drop it, your business is affected. So it's very, very important. Now, another stakeholder is government. Each of our business, whether you are in agriculture, whether you are in transport like I am, or whether you are in trading, you have a natural relationship with government where you operate. Why? Government is a regulator. Government creates an environment where we are operating. Yeah. So there are laws that are created to support us to be able to run businesses. So we have a natural relationship. If it is not KCCA asking for trading license, if it is not labor laws asking whether you have employment contracts with your staff, if it is not, you will not miss government somewhere. Please keep those relationships as transparent as possible. Be mindful. Be a disciplined person, citizen of that country where you are operating. Just follow the rules the way they are supposed to be. Some of them, by the way, they are not even difficult to maintain. It's just sometimes an attitude of avoidance, of saying, Bantawanya, they are disturbing me, let me do my things. No, please, let us be disciplined citizens, entrepreneurs where we are operating. It's very important, because if you don't, those policies, those laws or regulations unfollowed become a risk, a big risk to your business. For us, actually, at ISO level, one of the risks management that we manage is compliance. It's a totally a risk. We have a full department of compliance in Unifreight, because we understand the importance of managing these relationships and keeping your business safe. When you don't, and they draw in on more, they can ruin your business for no good reason. So let us be good entrepreneurs, knowing that we have relationships that are going to help us grow our businesses. I have already said this, government laws, compliance. You have to make sure that there is total compliance at all levels. Even your staff should understand the threats that come along with non-compliance. So you become a disciplined entrepreneur. You pass on the discipline to your staff. Train them to understand the risks that are associated with not following government regulations. And there are those that we don't like, but we have to coexist. Now, I must be honest to tell you that most of the times I'm getting clients from URA. Some of these people are human beings like we are. So managing their relationship, it's a secret. I don't know how to explain. They are not trees. Just because they are told government, they are human beings like we are. So how we manage their relationship is very important. So government expects taxes from you. I know that there is nobody who loves paying taxes. I must be honest. I was with URA yesterday and we were discussing these things. And someone was sharing with me and he said, look, even us when we are paying pay as you, and we are feeling bad. And I was like, do you? Yes, because it's supposed to be your money, all of it. But then when you are departing with it, it is like, But what do we do? Again, one of the values of Unified, by the way, is responsibility. And for me, when I'm paying taxes, again, it comes from that background of saying, what is my contribution to my society? Why has God given me an opportunity to do business? There is a reason. The multiplication, the fruitfulness, perspective, dominion, the biblical principles. I am there to also make a contribution to my society. And the only way we can do it, to help some people who, and please don't ask me where does the money go? Me, my role, your role as an entrepreneur is to pay taxes. Please leave things of the generals to the generals and do your part. Pay the taxes, you will feel happy. You've made your contribution to educate someone, to treat someone, and to develop infrastructure. I always felt so prideful about that, and I will always do that. Even me, I've made a contribution to educate a villager who could have not afforded. I've made a contribution to build a hospital somewhere. That is why we are here. That's what God has called us. What else? How else would we be part of that? When we say we are private sector, that is our participation. So compliance is a strategic decision that enables business to grow. Now, I will tell you how. Indirectly, what people don't understand as entrepreneurs. Have you ever bidded for big contracts? You want to grow, to supply government. You want to grow, to supply corporate companies, and they don't ask you for TCC, tax clearance certificate. How many opportunities have we lost, or are we going to lose for failing to be tax compliance? Because nobody's going. How do we grow our clientele then? How do we grow our turnover without looking at those opportunities? So tax compliance enables business growth indirectly. Because you comply, you confidently compete for bigger business opportunities because you are compliant. In Uganda, it is even becoming very critical. Oil and gas. I hope I'm speaking to people who are aspiring to supply goods and services to oil and gas. Believe you me, if you are not registered with NSSF, if you are not registered, you don't have tax clearance, if you don't, so many things, the standard is even higher. So are we going to look on and allow this sector to be played by other people because we can't do certain things? I am speaking to entrepreneurs who want to grow their businesses. And for me, that is my passion, by the way. I really want to be counted when at last I've rested how many businesses I supported to grow. That is something that makes me have sleepless nights. That is actually my significance. I believe that God has prepared me when I'm growing. When I'm growing Unified. It is actually just a preparation to support how others are going to grow their business. And that's what I'm doing. So successful business entrepreneurs understand that laws and regulations are key and are important, and compliance becomes a strategic decision. I have already said this. One of the business risks is legal risk, really, and compliance. I don't want to, I've already spoken much about that. When we are identifying business risks in management, legal and compliance becomes very important. I have already mentioned this. Some public servants are customers. By the way, again, in my conversation with my colleagues at URA, they were telling me, of course, recently, you know that we had a strike of IFRIS, against IFRIS. You know where it comes from? When you enter shops in Ichikubo or what is this, Rome Street or whatever, people ask you, do you want a receipt with the VAT or without? And so these clients, sometimes they're from URA and they're being asked those questions. So can you imagine how this community and world is so small? So that the moment you are compliant with government, these civil servants can become your customers, but also they can refer you. I've told you there are some businesses that have received from URA referrals, and that is because they are human beings. Again, I go back to my philosophy. We are in business. It's a platform for connecting with people. So let's make it really intentional to understand that we are here to connect with people. So now investors are all partnerships, partners, relationships. They are entrepreneurs who have partners with others. You formed a business together, and then one of you is running, and another one is non-participant. Please, let's manage these relationships very, very well. It is very important that we keep their interests catered for. It's very important that we make sure that they are informed and, of course, are also receiving from that business. When partners are non-participatory, at least they have dividends they expect. So please make sure that you sit in a meeting and agree either to allocate dividends or not, but at least let them be in the know. They need information of how that business is running. So these relationships are important. But also remember that there are potential partners, again, to support you in building the capabilities of your business. So if you don't inform them how things are happening and challenges you're experiencing, sometimes it's going to affect your growth, because they are the people that may have money to support you in investing, growing your capabilities, whether it is equipment, whether it is, growing your brand and all those kind of things. So they need to be recognized and respected as well as honored in as far as keeping. Now we have community. Communities where our businesses operate as stakeholders. And it is very, very important that we connect with them. They have a stake in our business. I remember when we came here to Chireka as Unifreight, the first people we visited were LCs to understand the community and its needs. We went ahead to even try and find out what can we do together. But it also depends on the leadership and whether they really know what they want. I remember offering to be having some days to go and clean the markets as a way of understanding the safety and health of the people who operate in that market, to show them that we are concerned and want to connect with them, but they never followed up. Those kind of connection with the community is very, very important. It may look inconveniencing and all this kind of thing. I remember one time when the LC came here and someone, but why are you wanting? I said, look, these are communities. But also, these people have information. These people can be potential customers. So you need to connect with the communities. And also you are sharing environment. Any action on their side may affect you. Likewise, any action on my side as I grow my business, sustainability of any business incorporates everybody in it. And so, for instance, if I'm going to, for instance, put a factory here and it's polluting the environment, I'm affecting them. So we need to be taking care of each other in as far as that is concerned. Understanding, I've said I had to engage the LC because I want to understand the local politics of where I'm operating and know how it affects me or how it supports my business. But also engaging community, most of the time, it depends on how you are engaging. When we are advertising our businesses, promoting, even these days people are doing social media, you are engaging community. You are talking about your business, you're promoting it. So it's very, very important that your business gets to know. Because today you have the clientele you have, but you need more at all times. We need more customers. So engaging community is very, very important. Balance, so challenges. These relationships are important. We want to grow our clientele. Please remember, we want to grow our turnover. But sometimes balancing interests requires righteousness, fairness from both parties. Now, one important thing I can tell you that in my 28 years of managing business, whereas I have tried to do what I've shared with you, loving and caring, both from clientele side employees, it's the challenging to balance the interests of employees and the interests of employer, and I will tell you why. Now, employer wants to make as much as money as much as possible, and I'm being honest here. Employee wants to earn as much as possible while on that job. And it is interesting experience when you sit on the table and you want to make sure that these interests are balanced. But like I said, for us who come from faith background, being righteous and fair to one another are the principles that guide this relationship. But I will also tell you, it is challenging when you meet employees, and it's common to most Ugandans, who are working for money, but not working for skills. There is always a balance. Like I said when we employ people, we should remind them that they have come to benefit 3 things. 4, 1 is they have opportunity to deploy their talents for the talents to grow even more or to be improved. Number 2, they have an opportunity to relate and create a platform of relationship, networks, and partnership. 3, they have an opportunity to make money. Now, being able to find an employee that also balances this relationship and know what she or wants at a certain point in time is not easy. It is going to take you as a leader, as an entrepreneur, to understand this employee the same way you are understanding the client and say, I am going to do it for God, and make sure that Jane, because I know her, I know who she is, I know the talents she has, I know the gifts that she has, I know who she has been. I'm going to help her and help her to focus on this in a certain time. So it takes that faith to get out of your way, to remember that you are here. You have been called as a minister, and God has connected you with people that you want to add value to, not only to take value out of. So that's where the fairness comes from and the righteousness I'm talking about. And for me, every other time my people are leaving to go maybe for other opportunities, I have to sit with you and ask you, when you came, tell me what you have benefited from working with Unifreight. They know, they have to tell me. And I have always been amazed. And for me, I think that makes my day, to understand you came with zero knowledge or anything, you have gone when you are better. Those are some of the things actually that have confirmed to me that I'm actually called to develop people for business. And so because when I get those feedback, I am extraordinarily fulfilled that somebody came and has gone when they are better than they came. But also I go back and check what has been the value this person has added. So in my engagement with them, like I mentioned in the slide for relationship, I am always wanting to know what has so and so added to Uniframe. So there has to be intentional exchange of value in this relationship. Of course, another challenge is that employer relationship needs keep changing. I'll tell you, one of the things I've discouraged my staff, and I have always challenged them to go and do research. I pay my staff better than majority of the bracket of medium-sized businesses. And of course, they sometimes think I don't know, but I know because I do research. Now, employees needs, whereas, and it's natural, even us as employer, I'm here to train you how to grow your business. So growth is a parameter we cannot avoid. We are in business to grow, right? So growth of the business also tends to make the employer also grow with it, because that is a natural thing. You used to make 50 million, now you are making 100 million. What has happened? How does it trickle down to our employees? And so those are some of the discussions you have to be transparent. Sometimes the employees see the money coming in and they want it in the same proportion. So what I normally do, I sit with you and I show you. You know, we met last year when I presented our performance and also presented our plans for this year. You remember these numbers we showed you? You remember the deployment of finances we showed you? It's very unlikely that I can afford increment this year because people keep asking for increment, but I always draw them back and say, okay, by the way, let's look at the value in its parameters. You may not have as much money that you want, but how much skills have I passed on? Would you consider to find somewhere else who would pay you more money, but perhaps there's something? Some have left me and come back for skills development, not money. Because for me, I know the value I'm passing on. So let us train our staff to always consider what value they are pursuing at a certain point. That does not mean that they don't need money. They need it. And some of them have reached a stage where they tell me, Madam, because of responsibilities I have, which is true, my family has grown. I can no longer depend on this. And that is the point we part ways. If I realize that I can't be able to pay you that money, you go. But it is again communication and intentional understanding of one another. The same as customers and supplier relationship. Their needs change. You need to, it's part of our research that we need to know how their needs have changed and we respond. Sometimes selfish interest overriding company's interest. People have become greedy. They want to get rich quick. They start doing wrong things, either cheating or becoming corrupt. I don't know the difference between those two words, but they sometimes mean the same, depending on where and who is applying it. And so those are challenges of managing these relationships. Unmatched and unrealistic expectations. This one is in relation to government. There are some policies that are made and they have not done research. So those policies come when they have, either they are also having selfish interest behind them, but not business interest, and they become an inconvenience to manage those relationships. Other policies or acts are outdated. They can no longer support the businesses which we are running. Now, before I allow you to ask me questions and have discussions, please write down. I always give this assignment at the end of my presentation. You know your business better than I do. write down how much turnover you are making right now and set goals for yourself. How much turnover would you want to earn come next year? We have other sessions that are coming next month and the other month, November. Next year, it is my desire that all of you who have been attending these sessions, we could have a physical meeting, giving me feedback of how this has helped you and what more we can do. I told you SSP is here to support you. This training are throwing information there, but we want a growing relationship to start with you coming and telling us, this is what I've said, but I'm struggling here, so that we can provide guidance. Thank you so much. I hand over back to Eve for moderating this next session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very, very much, Mrs. Mijuche, for your passion, for sharing life experiences, for being real about what works and what hasn't worked. We truly, truly, truly appreciate that. So while people think about what they want to ask, what questions they'll ask, one of the things you've done for me this morning is increase my joy in paying taxes because I am salaried, so I pay NSSF, not NSSF, pay as you earn. And sometimes I look at my pay slip and I say, oh, really? But now every time I look at it, I'll say some child is going to school, some road is being built, some health facility is being improved. So you really increased my joy in that space. Okay, now we are going to open up for questions. Are there any questions you may have, something you want her to clarify? We'll be ending in about 15 minutes. I want to give you an opportunity to gather your question together and to ask that question. What would you like her to talk more about from what she's covered, or where you need clarity? If you are in a place where you can't unmute, you can still type in the chat what you'd like her to respond to. Over to you. Please feel free to just unmute your microphone and ask that question. Any questions? She has already given you homework on what you need to reflect on between now and our next class, and actually write down. There is value in writing things down. So one is, how much is your current turnover? How do you want it to grow? And how much do you desire to earn future by the end of 2025?
Hello, Eve. Question from Isaac.
Okay, since there are no questions, but you can still, I think,
Okay.
send the
If
questions
that question is
through,
there, and
I will ask Alan to share the system which we are using for training where you registered from. We could provide a facility or a provision in which you could be sending questions as we go on. And so if there are no questions right now, I think
Question from Isaac.
a question, okay.
Yes. Now, I wanted you to guide us, especially those of us in the service sector, because we find ourselves in a situation where we want to improve our businesses, we want to comply, we want to improve employee benefits, that is, if salary, if business is growing. But then again, in the service industry, we find ourselves in a situation where work is not regular, that certain people, you need them like 6 times a month. That means it could be 2 days per week. But then you find that it's the only job they have. But then again, if you could commit that salary, it may inconvenience our cash flows. So we are always in that constant fight of, do I go into employee status or basigalenga bachuba, or should they stay as casual laborers? And it's something we are a bit struggling with here and there. I wanted to see your insight on that and how we can help, because I believe most of the your lectures touched on employees, and I believe them and customers are the center of the business. So how do we go about that?
Okay, did you hear the question? Isaac, you were a little bit low, but you want to know how to keep your employees motivated without necessarily increasing their salaries, because the business is not, the customers are not regular. And so you cannot project or predict the growth to be able to afford. Is that the question?
Yes, that is the question.
And another one is on compliance. Can
And
you
another is
elaborate on
compliance.
compliance as well?
So on compliance, you find that as the business grows, when you go to organizations like yours, which are medium scale, you find that they want NSSF, they want tax clearance, they want audited accounts, and all these things cost a lot of money. Sometimes you find that 90% of your clients don't require these things, but then 20% require these things. So the fight of whether to comply or not to comply is what becomes a battle for us who are just starting out businesses. You see, somebody tells you, I'll do audit for you for 2 million, but that 2 million is enough to be operating capital for 3 or 4 months. So then you are there in a fix. You're like, I'd rather leave business with Unifry and I focus on my supermarket where they don't ask such things. So how do you go about that amid this trying to make sure we have constant business so that we can make sure our employees take good money home at the end of the month?
Okay, so I will respond to both questions. And I really, for me, what interests me always is that I've been there. And so I share my experience. One on employee and salary increment. Isaac, I've already explained. For instance, I know your business, so I'll help you to bring it home. You are into technology, you are into communication. And so one thing I kept on telling my staff, and I believe and know that many of them have not had a regret, that they were patient not to earn as much as they would have wished, but they learned a lot that they went with. Please direct to your employees, like I said, 3 things we get from the job: talent, development, of course, money, and then, of course, exposure and a platform for network. Now, I used to tell my staff, it's true, whenever they see the turnover increasing, They think that part of that money should be in their pockets. Naturally so. This is where the planning and communication of your plans become critical. Because explain, it's true, you can get the turnover increased and 70% of that turnover is spent on our employees, right? Then what happens to the growth of this business? Whenever the turnover increases, it's an indication your clientele has increased. When your clientele has increased, there is a reason why those customers have come, but they expect more and more. So your strategic plan and sharing direction of your business is a communication that is essential. And add it by saying, look, be patient, learn on this job, let's grow this business together. Because if I paid you the 70%, I won't expand. If I can't expand and meet the needs of my customer, tomorrow will not be there. They will understand. And those who can't understand, unfortunately, they are not meant to be with you. Those who cannot understand Isaac, you would rather allow them to live at that point because they are not an asset to this business. Automatically, that is how it is. They are not an asset to that business. Now, coming back to and never feel bad that people have left. There are those who will leave and even come back to seek an opportunity to come back. So whenever they leave, there's a reason why they have left. Like I said, it's really because they are not part of your team. Part of your team is together with you to grow. You must have employees that are ready and pride into the growth of that business. Now, coming back to the government side of compliance and the requirements. Isaac, from the time Unifred started business, when Unifred started the business, even the first year, I filed my returns. I filed my returns. I was, I think, having 36 million and I was very excited for a whole year. And I still filed my returns. So this is how I did it and how we could do it. You don't have to employ a full accountant to keep your books of accounts. You have to have, these days there are many. There are even more than they were at my time. There are many people who are willing to provide services on part-time basis. All you need amongst your team is somebody who is keeping records of your incomes and expenditures. Somebody who is keeping your cash transactions. And somebody who is going to do what else? Suppliers' invoices and payments. Full stop. This is something you can give to any of your employees. Then on a monthly basis, with a very, very light retainer, you have this accountant who works for someone else, but be careful, not your competition, to come and summarize your reports of the month. You are growing your financial records. Now, when you have those reports, you again will get, there are many auditors who can really be negotiated. I mean, I used to pay very little money for having those financial reports. So if the word is, do you understand the value of keeping these records as an entrepreneur? The value added, it adds to your growth. When you can grasp that and understand it, you will do these things. It's a commitment, it's a determination, it's the value objective behind why you should be able to keep these financial records that drives you to keep them and drives you to find a solution of how to deal with the challenge. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. for that response. Is there any other question or comment?
If there is none, I guess then I will do the closing prayer and then we call it off. Thank you so much for coming. Father in heaven, we are grateful that you've called us to business and to connect with your people. Thank you, Father, for this morning and the connection of these people that have listened to me share the experience that you gave me. Thank you for their businesses. Thank you for calling them to business. Thank you for the shared responsibilities we have as business people to add value to our society. But first, Father, thank you for the gifts that you've given to us. Thank you for the talents. Thank you for who you created us to be. And you've called us to be fruitful and to multiply and to have dominion. It is my prayer, Father, that what we have shared this morning will add value to these entrepreneurs before you. And Father, I speak a blessing of multiplication and fruitfulness in their businesses. And Father, I pray that as they settle down in their homes this weekend, that they will have a reflection of their business performance and that they will share their visions with you. And that Father will be able to even make it better and affirm to them why you called them to business. We thank you for prayed all this in Jesus' name.
Amen. 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 Thank you, everyone, for joining. We appreciate you. We want to see your businesses grow. And we look forward to connecting with you again, and we'll communicate when the next training is. Please, this has been recorded. Feel free to share. We'll make it available so you can share with your groups. I think there's a lot in here that can help us grow our businesses. Thank you so much for joining. God bless you and have a great weekend.